Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining DASA Connect and joining my session where we're going to talk about how we are going to break the wall between ITIL and Agile for DevOps teams. So today we are going to talk about some myths associated with ITIL and Agile. We will talk about the integration principles and where different size and type of organizations can benefit from integration. We will mention some case studies, and of course, we will talk about best practices, and hopefully, you will be able to take away one or two practical thoughts about this topic. My name is Julia Khromova. I'm DevSecOps Excellence Lead at PepsiCo, and for many years I've been working with ITIL, and for the last actually 5 years probably, I've been trying to merge ITIL and Agile methodologies to make our teams, DevSecOps teams, successful. With a lot of challenges, with significant successes, we're happy to celebrate, and that's all was supported with my knowledge in ITIL. I got certified in SAFe, and of course I applied the principles of Lean Six Sigma. Please join me on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to meet you. And we will start with some housekeeping. There are two surveys which will be available for you. And if you could take time during my session to share your experience, your thoughts, that would be wonderful. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in Q&A section. So let's jump to the first topic, which is myths about ITIL. And, this is ChatGPT vision of bureaucracy and chaos, which could be really associated with ITIL. And very popular myth I would like to start with is that ITIL is rigid. And while it is very true to some organizations, we could see very good examples where ITIL is believed to be a flexible, to be a supportive framework where people who actually implement and govern the processes through ITIL are focused on continuous improvement, on getting the feedback, on making the processes supporting IT folks rather than making them suffer. So could be flexible and adaptable. There's very common perception that ITIL is for big companies. And while it is partially true, because you can see that most of big IT companies would adopt ITIL, it could be also very helpful for small and medium-sized enterprises. You can find a lot of very reasonably priced ITSM solutions, and you could leverage some processes, initial processes, like you could even have initial list of your IT services in Excel. You could agree how you could organize incident management, in the minimum scope. But having these processes in place will help you for any size of team you are trying to govern. And this is just the question: how and what scope would you implement? The price, and of course, ITIL could be very expensive if you go for big, expensive solutions. But again, so you could make it quite reasonable, and you could invest mostly in training and bringing people on board, and it could be implemented in quite cost-efficient way. And it's been like ages. I remember the conversation with my friends 15 years ago that ITIL will die soon. So, and while there are a lot of new technologies and the world is changing very fast, ITIL is really being developed and being quite, on the edge, embracing agile principles. And ITIL 4 is quite agile, and there's now a new version which is in the discussion. So I think ITIL has really good future, and we will talk even more at the end of the session. So let's talk about DevOps. What are the myths? I think the very popular one is when you ask someone, especially with tech background, that DevOps is all about automation. And while, of course, automation is a crucial part of DevOps, it is really first of all about the mindset, about the culture, about bringing people together, one team concept, and driving continuous improvement. And if you have this cultural mindset, yeah, and I'm sure it was discussed in many sessions during these days, then automation could be really enabler for the teams being very successful. DevOps is often associated with technology companies, with tech companies. And while, again, partially it could be true, you can find that very different organizations, companies of different size, of different industries implement DevOps concepts successfully. And yeah, it could benefit all type of organizations. It's just a very smart and very efficient concept, and the way how we implement, yeah, it is what is important. So DevOps will kill IT operations, will eliminate the need. And this is really a little bit funny because, you know, DevOps is actually development and operations. And it is rather bringing IT operations, you know, into the same team. It is about improving the collaboration between the teams. And IT operations bringing their experience, their tools, their mindset, their knowledge of production environment, and they will just make the ops organization stronger. So, and finally, DevOps can be implemented overnight. I wish. So normally implementation of DevOps requires significant cultural mindset shift. So you will need to work with the teams. You will need to bring them together. They need to, I mean, physically sit together or just, you know, be engaged in different activities together. They need to understand the value of the collaboration, and it really takes time. And just a funny one, yeah. So because when you talk to different people, everyone would understand DevOps differently, and I'm sure that I'm one of this person. But in the reality, DevOps is very complex and very much again cultural thing rather than different elements of it. So let's talk now about your team. Imagine you have DevOps team, and it means that you already have broken at least one wall between Dev and Ops. Now let's talk about Agile and ITIL. So we have different associations with Agile and ITIL, and they could be very, very different. So ITIL is about, I think that I probably mixed them up. So ITIL is about service management, about certification, trademark, and this is ITIL. And Agile is all about being, you know, collaborative, doing small iterations, automate, and to make it fast. But there is definitely a common ground for these two methodologies. And to break the wall, boom, yeah, so let's focus on the efficiency and continuous improvement. These both methodologies are very much about efficiency and driving continuous improvement. A little bit of facts. So I tried to find some statistics about the adoption of methodologies, and surprisingly, the adoption is very high. For Agile and DevOps, it is up to 80%. And for ITIL, it is about 50% of organizations, but this is the organization who have adopted or are planning to adopt ITIL, Agile, or DevOps. And we see that the share is growing. So obviously there is an overlap, yeah, and we need to see how this overlap, could be the most efficient. So we know that ITIL was originated in the UK, yeah, and it is the oldest one, 80s of last century, and it was developed as the response to the need of UK government to improve their IT service management and in particular procurement process. So, and ITIL is all about advising some best practices around IT service management and aligning them with business needs. So, and Agile became famous in early 2000, I think 2001 actually, through publication of Agile Manifesto. And that it was a group of software experts who got together and decided that we need to be, we need to improve our ways of working to become more iterative and to start focusing on customer, not on the code itself. And DevOps as a concept was, again, so it was mentioned in different publications, but officially it is considered to be born 2009. And it is all about bridging the gap. So bringing dev and ops together, collaboration efficiency, and very much based on agile principles. So now more to the reality of integration. We have ITIL, we have DevOps. So how could we enrich, for example, change management process to make it more agile? So, and these are the practical discussions which we are having, and this is kind of, a little bit a dream, yeah, so where we all want to be, but this is something very powerful. For example, when you do change management, we all know that we could have CAB, which could be quite rigid, and it would be quite, rubber stamping. Yeah, so there are certain requirements, and it doesn't matter, what's behind. You just need to fulfill, or you will not go into production. So the response is, and the functional teams would complain a lot. They have a lot of pressure from business to get the things done, yeah, and they cannot wait for ages. So what's important in this context is really to properly classify changes, yeah, based on the risk assessment. And again, so if you could identify standard changes which require minimum or no approval, which are pre-approved, yeah, and if they could be automated, if these changes could go into production very quickly. If you could use specific change models applicable for certain services, if of course they could be integrated with CI/CD, and as an option, you could have special roles which will have more authority to push the changes than others. Then you could balance speed and control. So again, so you could identify low risk changes and let them go quickly and easily, or you can focus all your efforts with control on high risk changes. And you could get a lot of support from automation, from the DevSecOps tools, such as monitoring systems. Yeah, they could support you with a risk assessment. You could say which CIs are more risky versus less risky. You could, and this is really, I really like this part about dynamic change windows. So you could monitor your production environment and then identify what would be the best window to push a certain change into production. Or you could even predict the effect of moving this change into production in this particular time, yeah, and comparing with other changes which are expected at the same time window. And of course, you need to have post-implementation review, and based on this experience, yeah, to go back and redefine if your standard changes, if your change models are defined correctly, and to be able quickly respond. If, for example, something was implemented as low risk change, but then you found that it had some negative impact, yeah, you would reconsider, and you could classify it as non-standard change. And of course, security is very important, and we are trying to embed security as much as possible and to make sure that it is automatically embedded into process, yeah, saving time and also ensuring that we have no security risks. Proved. So incident and problem management. Again, there are a lot of opportunities to benefit from both ITIL and DevOps practices. And this is how we could move from, responding to incidents to preventing incidents. So first of all, we need to identify incident as soon as possible. So to minimize the time from service impact to actual incident resolution. And we could benefit again from tool integration. I mean, simple things like chat with service desk, or even better if you could get some automated alerts or events, and if they are of severe type, for example, they could be automatically converted to incidents and assigned to the right team. And then if you have incident, yeah, you could already have immediately quick response with cross-functional team engaged, and it could be the representatives from dev and ops who will have the knowledge of new functionality, dev, and who will have the knowledge of operational support, ops, and they could use shared communication platforms to easily brainstorm and resolve this incident as soon as possible. And if there are any issues, depending on the situation, there should be a dynamic escalation path. So everyone should know how to engage, infrastructure team, application team, network team. Everyone need to know how to escalate to the leadership, to inform business. So all this information is to be identified, defined, and available for the teams. And of course, until we jump into problem management, root cause analysis is very important for impactful incidents. And again, so while we are trying to focus on preventative problem management, we should not forget about reactive problem management as well. So problem management could be super efficient, in becoming really preventative if we use, again, data, tools, to analyze the history, to probably monitor the performance, different metrics, to be able to predict if something is going to get wrong, and to avoid it. And we could also have preventative maintenance as a part of this. Machine learning, so to learn how to better monitor, to learn how to predict, to learn, which situations could become incidents, and also to integrate with operations tools. And of course, everywhere. So, and we will probably see it on every slide, every topic. So continuous improvement, continuous feedback, and iterative improvements. Prevention. So incident management and problem management, again, from reactive to preventive one. And again, many companies have successfully implemented both ITIL and DevOps. One of the most popular is Microsoft, and they have a lot of experience with ITIL. They have very complex infrastructure and customer services, and they manage them well through ITIL processes. And DevOps, they also adopted well, and we all know the tools Microsoft suggests. So in PepsiCo, we also use both methodologies very efficiently. And while ITIL is a common ground for all IT teams in PepsiCo, DevOps is really defined individually for every service. So we really follow the slogan, one size does not fit all. So for DevOps, we have different tool set, different organizations, but the key principle is that we need to be focused on our customers and we need to deliver fast. So a little bit more about how to make ITSM and ITIL more agile. And here I'm going to refer to the famous agile principles. And there is some pain associated with how I'm going to cover this, because again, we all can see in different organizations, that we often, as IT professionals, we forget about providing, when we provide IT services, so that our final objective is really to support our business customers or end users or customers on the market. So valuing individual and interactions over process and tools. Very often you could have an incident created by customer arriving to service desk and then spending hours or days being assigned to different teams, traveling. People are getting frustrated with not getting the right support. And getting more agile, what we could do is really to have some level 1.5 teams, or swarming, when you could have additional level of functional experts which would jump immediately on any new incoming incident and advise how it should be supported. So we need to avoid being, working in silos and not taking responsibility. So this is about IT being one big team, supporting our customers and being responsible for providing the support as soon as possible. Documentation. And again, so we talked about change management. It could be really quite a pain, when your change management team is so focused on rubber stamping that they forget that, again, we need to support business. We need to drive the changes, and there could be business risk, there could be business opportunities we could really face, without treating it properly. So efficient way, yeah, and agile way to address it would be to try to understand what types of documentation could be used, what kind of additional reviews could be used, yeah, so or what kind of automation. And we talked in previous slides about, again, classification and trying to get focused on really high-risk change. So this is the whole mindset and kind of organization which is to be built, yeah, and still we can see that in some teams, yeah, so people are getting even more pushed to work on the documentation. That's really a risk. Collaboration over contract negotiation. This is about magic SLA. So we all know that SLA is important, yeah, and IT support is often measured, success is often measured in terms of how green is our SLA. But the reality is that IT professionals can play well to keep SLA green while their customers will be absolutely unhappy. So this is so wrong. Yeah, so we really need to focus to make our customers happy. And SLA is one of indications. In the reality, we need to be trying to collaborate with business as much as possible and to support their needs rather than trying just to measure and report. And finally, change schedule. Yeah. So again, while we are trying to protect production environment and be as stable as possible, yeah, there is significant risk if we press too hard. Yeah. So business will not be able to grow or to respond market challenges because IT is too rigid. So we really need to collaborate between IT and business to allow flexible approach to moving changes into production. So what about the future trends? Again, I mentioned that I believe ITIL has a good future, and you could see, especially in different conferences, that there are a lot of interesting solutions suggested, ITSM solutions, and it is very often associated with artificial intellect, machine learning, Internet of Things. Yeah, so we could see that, for example, incident ticket, when you close it, AI will suggest you to create a problem and generate proposed problem statement for you. And there are a lot of things like this which could make, again, ITIL quite more proactive and quite more focused on customer. This is another thing. And again, ITIL is really developing and embracing agile and clean practices. And of course, cybersecurity, which I mentioned, is an essential part of it. So for DevOps, we can see that DevOps is getting popular not just with IT, but with other parts of organizations. So it is getting expanded to new industries, to new business areas, and of course, a lot of development in terms of automation. Of course, emphasis on security, and it is getting more and more sophisticated in terms of tool chains. And I'm already approaching the final part. Yeah. So what I wanted to highlight is that all these methodologies are really great. This is the experience and knowledge of generation of people of different companies, different industries. But it is all about the implementation, the way how you use these methodologies. Because it could be, again, back to the myths we discussed, it could be something very rigid, very bureaucratic, or it could become extremely efficient and collaborative tool with a lot of benefits for all the teams. And the final recommendations, which I really wanted to share with you, is really, again, flexibility, continuous improvement, feedback, retrospective, talk to people, be open for it, and try to keep it simple. Bureaucracy is not good. AI and automation is obviously our future, and collaboration, collaboration, and collaboration. So with this, I covered my slides, and I'm ready to see if we have the results of the poll, and if we have Q&A. Okay. So I can see the first question, how about the different roles and responsibilities within ITIL and Agile DevOps? Who should be responsible for fulfilling ITIL practices within a DevOps environment? This is really interesting question. So while ITIL is associated with certain roles, yeah, it normally assumes certain central governance to keep it consistent. I think that it really depends on the size and on the culture of the team. So if it is a big corporate environment, so obviously I would recommend, and that's what I saw in big companies, yeah, to have a central ITIL governance as kind of center of excellence. And as I mentioned, yeah, what we do in PepsiCo, we keep ITIL centrally governed, and DevOps, there is kind of recommendations. It is not. It is far more flexible and defined on each level. But together with this, so even having central governance for ITIL, yeah, on the level of individual team, you will need to define how given ITIL processes are to be executed for this specific DevOps team. So, for example, we can have the rules of incident management, yeah, that every incident is to be prioritized and assigned and resolved and so on and so forth. But for example, for a specific DevOps team, we could decide that all incidents should go through one person or should be assigned, I don't know, to two people and they will dispatch incidents. Or we could discuss and decide that while we want to have incident management, documented and reflected in our ITSM system, yeah, we want to have all work associated with incident management being added to our Kanban boards. So to answer this question, again, there is no single answer to all organizations how these roles are to be assigned. Um, it is great to have central governance and mentorship in terms of ITIL and DevOps. It could be required to, if it is a huge team, to have a little bit more defined rules for item, yeah, or it could be quite flexible and team leads or specific experts in the team could play the role of champions. Okay, I hope I answered this question. Okay, and can we see the results of the poll? Okay. Yeah, I can see that the most popular was the second question about adoption of ITIL and DevOps. And we have one vote for ITIL and two votes for DevOps and five votes for both. Okay, I think that it's probably not too representative, but it gives the idea that most of the audience is really interested in merging of these two methodologies. If not, it was pleasure to present for you, and hopefully you will have successful journey with both ITIL and Agile for your DevOps teams. Thank you.